Hello everyone, my name is Razin, and welcome back to Let's Play Kyuuyaku Megami Tensei 2. Last episode, we made our way over to the Lands of Rage, the third area of the Demon World. Did a little bit of grinding for money for new equipment, as well as a little bit of demonic fusion so that we could fuse the Archangel Michael, which is going to be a pretty valuable party member moving forward. Not as good as the three we got from the weird little Jack Frost Cathedral of Shadows Codebreaker fiasco that we did a few episodes back, but, you know, pretty good, all things considered still. Then we met up with Mora, who happened to find herself over in this neck of the woods as well, and be sure you grab this treasure chest. It's a very important thing for a side quest. It's a revival incense, which, you know, if you've been paying attention, you can probably put two and two together with what we're doing with that, so... Yeah, as I was saying, we got some food from Mora so that we could hop up on our back and traverse different parts of the Demon World map, and we found ourselves over here. There was a tunnel system that was guarded by a door that we needed a gnome to open. And then, after opening the door, we traversed the caverns, fought Echidna, traversed more caverns after we crossed a large bridge over a chasm. And now we've made our way to Malak's temple. So yeah, there's three things that we want to do in Malak's temple. First is obviously beat Moloch, but we're going to do that at the end. The other two things we're going to want to do is side quest related stuff. So the first thing is grab that revival incense that's pretty near the entrance here, thankfully. It's not too hard to get to. And the second thing we're going to do is something that we were told to do, or a request we received from one of the villager NPCs that we had talked to, I believe just in the last village that we were in, who stated that there was a fairy child that was kidnapped and was taken to Malak's temple, probably to be sacrificed, as we touched on last time. So, gotta go find that fairy child and free them. And then, of course, Malak is going to be a pretty cool boss fight at the end of this thing here. So this area is kind of interesting because I kind of touched on the caverns weren't that difficult because they kind of were a dungeon that led up to the temple here. Now, the temple itself isn't actually that tricky either, at least layout-wise. The enemies here are a little bit stronger, but there's still nothing you gotta really worry about all that much. You should be fine, even if you get turned around a little bit. You're not gonna have too much difficulty finding the right way to go in this place compared to some other places we've been. But I will say the boss fight that is the light at the end of this tunnel is going to hit us pretty hard. I don't even know if necessarily the boss is hard as it is tanky, but we'll talk about that when we get to Malak himself. Otherwise, just a lot of going through these corridors, and there's a few pretty good chests here that just have incenses and magical sources and stuff like that you know, if you want to take the time to pick up that stuff, I think it's worth the time to do so. You're probably only really going to go here once because it's so out of the way you could go back here for that stuff, but if you're going here, you might as well just grab it all here and never look back again, right? See, there we go, we got an incense. And of course, remember, incenses will, in addition to permanently raising one stat on your character with the corresponding incense, it will also completely heal that character as well, which is nice. And that's as simple as it is. You just need to get to this tile, talk to that NPC, and the fairy child will go back home. This was an era before absurd escort quests in games. I'm sure there's a dungeon crawler that's tried to do like a weird escort type thing like that before. I'm curious now if there's any game that's done that and how that would work mechanically. Like, would they just like take up a slot in your party and you can't let them die, or how would that work? I'm sure there's some interesting stuff you could do with that, but it'd probably, like most escort stuff in games, probably annoy more people than, you know, make people have fun sort of thing. And here we go. Gotta say, really like Malak's design. The ox serpent thing with 4 arms is really cool looking. Now, the reason Malak is tanky, and in my opinion, one of the trickier boss fights in this game in general, isn't really even so much anything particularly fancy about his HP pool, or, you know, even his attacks aren't that powerful or that scary. It's just that he likes to heal himself a lot with Meteorahan, and he can use it quite a few times and just undo your progress in the fight. So it can be very, very, it can be rough going, no matter what your party is. Even, like I said here, I'm using the 3 powerful demons I got from the Codebreaker Easter egg. I need to stop saying Easter egg when I really mean secret. From the Codebreaker secret thing. And this fight's still going to take a good chunk of time. See, like you see right there, he just healed and probably undid like 2 or 3 turns of me trying to whittle away at his health here. So, yeah, just kind of frustrating, but, you know, I think that it's just a little annoying and long. I don't think it's that, I don't think it's too much to worry about. Just make sure you don't get complacent and you stop looking at your HP, you know. Don't zone out. I think that's the major difficulty here, is it can just be a little, tedious, but... See, like that group spell did a good bit of damage, but as long as we're paying attention to our health, we really got nothing to worry about, so... This fight will obviously go on even longer if you're kind of playing the game in a more traditional way where you didn't get the Codebreaker secret demons, but even then, I don't think you'll have too much difficulty. Michael, honestly, if you're playing this game and you're not using Bylong, Callie, and King Long or anything like that, I would definitely fuse Michael, who is really going to last you a while, and is just a good demon to fuse around this point in the game, since you can easily do so if you just do a little bit of demon recruiting for the proper elements and do the triple fusion. I do believe at some point Malak will run out of MP and be unable to use it anymore, too. So that is something, at least, that's kind of nice. You know, it's not like he can just keep using it and it's just a total RNG thing. Bylong's getting low there, so let's heal up. Again, don't want to pay the cost for having to revive any of these 3 demons because, God, it's expensive. I'm sure even though Michael's quite a bit lower in level, I'm sure Michael is not the cheapest demon in the world to heal up or fully revive or anything either. Though that being said, we are looking pretty good with that 74,000 Maka. That's a good chunk of change that we have on hand. Almost at max magnetite too. Damn, we're actually handling our resources pretty good here. You can see too that it feels like we've been on this red enemy status symbol, denoting that they're at 1/4 health or less for an eternity here. But I think the fight is going to wrap up right here, actually. Yeah, so at least we get a lot of experience points to make up for that, enough for a level up. Definitely by this point in the game, maybe even 2, depending on if you're a little bit under-leveled, maybe. And, of course, we have another orb, which means we can go all the way to the next area in the game. You may have noticed as well that the Echidna we fought last episode, right before that bridge leading to the, you know, from Cavern 1 to Cavern 2, we actually got a dull orb from that demon too, which is going to be another thing that we can, you know, maybe use and see what that does for us a little bit later on. But before we do any of that, what we are actually going to do is go explore the Lands of Rage a bit more. You may have remembered that there was a tower a little bit to the southeast part of this map that was locked previously. So we, you know, we're going to check that out, but it's locked. So, of course, to get the key, what we're going to need to do is talk to this guy. This is the guy who asked us to save the child, and now that we've done that, he is going to hopefully put his arms down. His arms must get really sore, having it raised in such an awkward position at all times. But anyways, yeah, so that tower is apparently the domain of the demon Belfagore, so now that we got that, we are going to be able to go in there and do a little bit of looting and tootin', because if I recall, Belfagore is actually the demon of flatulence, I believe. I know in later entries, he's actually depicted as being on a toilet, which is pretty funny and a design that I find very amusing. But yeah, and it looks like SMT2 on. He's always depicted as being on a toilet. But yeah, he's not really depicted like that in this game, sadly. Actually, looking at this, it looks like it's less to do with flatulence and just in general, like human debauchery and laziness and greed a little bit, and just kind of overall just being kind of a vile person, sort of thing, is more what Belfagore is all about. Anyways, I was too busy talking about Belfagore to talk about the fact that we are also going to double back around to the Fields of Lunacy, and more specifically Belial's castle in the basement here, to go talk to Izanami and do the thing with the revival incense that is in the very title of the game. We are going to reincarnate the goddess. Now, if you remember, this is actually a carryover from something we did in the Kyuuyaku Megami Tensei 1 playthrough. So, if you carry over that save file into Kyuuyaku Megami Tensei 2, and in the first game you gave Izanami the silk thread, you're going to get Izanami's robe here, which is going to let you actually go over poison swamp tiles as well as like floor trap damage tiles and not have any consequences. Like, you're not going to take any damage, you're not going to get poisoned or anything like that. If I recall, it's not even anything you have to equip per se, it's just something that's in your inventory and has that passive effect, which is really nice. So definitely something you're going to want to strive to get if you're playing through Kyuuyaku 1 and 2 back to back. We went back to the bar in this town here, and we are actually going to go pick up the gorgeous set, which we aren't going to actually need right now, but is going to be something that we're going to want to have for later on in the game, and I figured I don't want to actually go through and, you know, get to that part of the game and then have to run all the way back here and get it. I figured I might as well future-proof and just pick it up now. I'm all about that time efficiency. So we're just going to have that in our backpack along with our frog friend, who has remained quite silent this entire playthrough. But those two things are actually quite related in a bizarre way, but you'll see when we get to that part of the game. So we took care of, I believe, yeah, both of the side quest related things involving the Lands of Rage and Malak's Temple in particular. And we defeated Malak so we can progress, but the only next thing we really got to do is, I guess technically we didn't finish all the side quest stuff related to the Lands of Rage, because we still got to go through this tower and see what's up with Belfagore's little home here. It's a good door image. I know that they've used it a lot and they've used it for many different areas, but it's always nice to look at. It's a very nice little design on it there. Gotta say, getting maybe starting to get a little worn out on the repeating tile sets of this game. You know, I kind of commented, like, you know, they chose some very good color palettes, and some of them were very nice to look at, from the kind of greenish purple from the very first area to that more earthy orange. And hey, look, we got Excalibur, actually. Let's, I don't know if we're gonna take a look at that. Excalibur. Yeah. Check that shit out. And if I recall, Excalibur, the symbol that you saw there, is the opposite of the curse symbol. I believe the Excalibur is actually blessed, and if we start walking around, yeah, there you go, you can see it. Every single time we take a step with Takuma, when we have a blessed weapon equipped, Takuma's going to heal 1 HP, which may not seem like a lot, but it adds up over time, so I'll take it. Asuka once again leveled up. Even though I have those stats technically maxed out, I do believe, because we have equipment that also adds to that total, I want to say, at least in most Megami Tensei games, I believe it's the case where even though the number doesn't change, it technically does go over mathematically, like behind the scenes, because it does take into account the bonuses given to you from your equipment as well. I don't know, that seems right to me, and from what I've gathered, at least from my knowledge with other games in the series, I'm pretty sure it applies all the way even back here as well, too. So, I could be wrong about that, but either way. These demons in here are still giving pretty good experience points, too. Yeah, as you can see, there's a lot of good treasure chests and stuff in here, you know, even simple stuff as like jewels and paralysis curing items and all that, but you know, it's nice to be able to get some of that stuff for free, and it's a good experience running through here anyway, so I recommend that you do it. There's also a pretty good reward at the end, as well as a optional boss fight, which I'm sure if you're a fan of Mega 10, you probably are the type of person who also likes doing optional boss fights, and this one isn't even particularly hard. I kind of wish, I don't know, maybe this could be me overthinking things, but I feel like a lot of RPGs don't really have optional bosses in the way that a lot of old RPGs do, because now I feel like when you say optional JRPG boss, most people think of like super bosses and stuff kind of more towards the end game, but I really like the fact that it feels like a lot more older RPGs kind of had these completely skippable areas where they had bosses at the end that weren't really like necessarily hard or unique or special in any way. It was just like an optional thing that you could do if you wanted to, or, you know, if you didn't feel like going through and doing it and getting whatever it had to offer, you didn't have to. It just feels like it adds a little bit more depth and texture to the world in a way that I really like. I kind of talked about stuff like that in my Let's Play I did for the first Dragon Quest as well, where a lot of that game is just walking around the overworld map, and it's like, oh hey, there's a cave to explore, and sometimes a cave is just a cave and has some cool stuff in it, and it's nothing more. I kind of miss that sense of world that some of these old RPGs have sometimes. So here's Belfagore. Whatever. This guy is kind of a pushover. We don't gotta worry too much about him, honestly. Yeah, we're just gonna go all out with the attacks. See, he attacks a lot, but still. And you gotta keep in mind with all these demonic bosses like this too, most of the times your fire magic or fire related attacks aren't really going to do any damage, or could even reflect back on you, but most of the time when stuff reflects like that, like the fire breath stuff, it doesn't really do that much damage to the original demon. So there's a lot of times in this game where you're going to notice me attacking with attacks that technically reflect back on the demon just because I'm doing auto battle or whatever, and I just don't give a shit because who cares. And you can see Belfagore went down pretty easy. He's a lot easier than Malak is, definitely. That is nice of him. So we got Vajra, which is yet another very cool sword. A lot of cool swords this playthrough. 58 attack, can hit 1 to 8 times. That's pretty good. We got a cool new sword for Takuma. Technically could also be equipped to Asuka too, and I do believe that, I want to say that after I get a even better sword for Takuma, I give the Vajra to Asuka, but I could be mistaken. But you know, if that's a build you want to do, I think that's completely valid too. If you have a good weapon for Takuma at this point, and you just want to give something to make Asuka a bit more powerful or on that level physical attack-wise as well, you could totally do that. Just give Asuka the Vajra right away, and you know, Takuma will get better swords in time to kind of bring him back up to that kick-ass physical attacker of the party role. So as you can see, we have a few new options. We can go to the remote island, or we can go to the Forest of Confusion. And I believe we're going to go to the Forest of Confusion. And we will explore this area next time as Kyuuyaku Megami Tensei 2 continues.